Many people do not understand why they keep suffering at night, why they toss and turn in their beds, and why they wake up feeling heavy even when they went to sleep peacefully. It is because the enemy has chosen the night as their battlefield. But hear me clearly. When you learn the secret of putting 9 cloves in salt water before you go to bed, you will rise above every dark attack, and the enemies who trouble you will not see the morning with joy. Life is spiritual, and the wicked do not rest. While you are sleeping, they are awake, making evil plans, sending arrows and projecting poverty, sickness, and confusion into your home. But when salt and cloves come together, something divine happens. It becomes a spiritual firewall, and every arrow shot at you returns with multiplied force to the sender. Let me tell you plainly, your enemies survive because you have not yet used and the right weapons. You pray, yes. You cry, yes. But until you seal your night with spiritual symbols like salt and cloves, you are open to hidden battles. This night you will learn a ritual that not only protects you, but makes sure that those who attack you will wake up miserable, tormented, and crushed by the very traps they set for you. Imagine going to bed peacefully with no fear of bad dreams, no evil shadow standing by your door, no sudden financial dryness appearing in your life the next morning. Imagine waking up with freedom while your enemies wake up choking in their own wickedness. This is the promise of the 9 cloves in salt water ritual. It is not only a shield, but a back to sender hammer that makes sure the wicked cannot rejoice over you again. Enemies hate when you use what God has already placed in your hands. They hate it when you rise in wisdom. They hate it when you discover that small household items like cloves and salt can shake their altars to the ground. By the time you finish this teaching, you will never go to bed unprotected again, because you will know that one simple act before sleep can decide the destiny of your night and the pain of your enemies. This is not an ordinary practice. It is warfare. Every clove represents a strike. And when you place 9 of them in salt water, you are spiritually writing the end of your enemy's joy. When they rise to attack you, they will find their curses boomeranged. When they speak against you, they will taste their own words. When they send poverty to your door, it will return as misery in their camp. Tonight, I reveal this mystery to you, not as a superstition, but as a divine strategy. Do this before bed and you will sleep like a lion. Do this before bed and you will wake up free. Do this before bed and you will watch as your enemies wake up broken, disappointed, and miserable. The battle line is drawn, and with 9 cloves in salt water, victory is already on your side. Cloves are not just ordinary spices you throw into food. They carry a spiritual vibration that unsettles darkness. For centuries, people have used cloves as a natural weapon against witchcraft, curses, and the evil eye. Witches fear the fragrance of cloves because it disrupts their rituals. And demons cannot withstand its fire-like essence. When you place cloves in water, it does more than release aroma. It releases a shield, a sound in the spirit that says you cannot touch this house. The mystery of using 9 cloves is not by chance. In spiritual realms, the number 9 symbolizes judgment and finality. It is the number that seals a matter. When you drop 9 cloves into water, you are declaring in the spirit, this battle is finished. This curse is settled. This evil has ended. Enemies who rise against a person covered by the number 9 will find themselves cut off and silenced. That is why when you put exactly 9 cloves in salt water, you are not just experimenting, you are declaring a divine full stop against every wicked plan. Each clove acts like a soldier on duty. 1 clove blocks nightmares, another blocks sickness, another stops poverty, another covers your children, and another stands at your door, another at your window, another silences the gossipers, another breaks the monitoring spirit, and the last one seals it all in total victory. When all 9 are united in salt water, you have a complete army standing guard while you sleep. This is why those who try to fight you after this ritual find themselves beaten by a power they cannot explain. Think of cloves as fire arrows. When the enemy launches an attack, these 9 arrows shoot back instantly, piercing their sleep, disturbing their peace, and reversing the curse. That is why people who have tried this notice, their enemies begin to avoid them. Some even confessing openly or mysteriously, falling into shame. This is not magic. It is back to sender warfare, using natural elements created to fight for you. Many overlook cloves because they see them as kitchen ingredients. But witches and occultists know their hidden strength. They often use them in twisted ways to bind or harm others. But the secret is this: when used in purity with salt, cloves do not serve darkness. They destroy it. They cut spiritual cords. They confuse monitoring spirits, and they dismantle traps laid at night. Your enemies may know this power, but they never expect you to rise up and use it against them. The reason cloves work so powerfully is because they carry persistence. Have you ever noticed how one clove releases a strong fragrance that lingers long after cooking? Spiritually, this means it lingers to protect. When you place 9 cloves in salt water, their spiritual fragrance stays in your atmosphere all night, creating an invisible wall. Your enemies, however, are forced to taste that same lingering power, but for them it is bitterness and torment. There is also a reason why cloves are hard and sharp in their natural form. They are not soft like other spices. They pierce. Spiritually, they represent piercing the plans of the enemy. They stab through curses, puncture wicked altars, and pierce through demonic dreams. 9 of them mean 9 piercings, 9 wounds inflicted upon those who dare rise against you, 9 torments chasing your enemies until they abandon your case completely. That is why tonight, when you place 9 cloves in salt water, you are not just following a ritual. You are summoning judgment. You are raising a spiritual army. You are saying this ends here. The enemies that laughed at you yesterday will be crying in confusion tomorrow. The curses that tried to settle in your home will return like arrows into the camp of your enemies. And when you wake up, you will know that the power of 9 cloves has sealed your victory. Salt has always been known as more than just seasoning. Spiritually, salt is a covenant element. It preserves what is good and destroys what is rotten. That is why when you mix salt with water, it becomes a purifier of your environment, cleansing away every hidden residue of curses and witchcraft. Enemies dread salt because it strips their powers of effectiveness, turning their sacrifices into dust and their incantations into nothingness. In spiritual warfare, water represents life, flow, and spirit. But when that water is mixed with salt, it no longer just flows, it burns every evil attached to it. Salt water does not only cleanse your space, it sets fire in the spirit against those who try to rise against you. When you put 9 cloves into salt water, you are creating a spiritual mixture that both washes you clean, burns your enemies without mercy. Salt water has the ability to expose many who battle with witchcraft. Notice that when salt is sprinkled or used in the home, hidden, enemies suddenly reveal themselves. They cannot hide anymore because salt carries truth. When you put cloves in salt water by your bed, any enemy sending arrows against you will find their own name written in the spirit as the guilty. They will be exposed in their workplace, in their family, and in their secret gatherings, unable to continue their hidden assignments. Another secret of salt is that it spoils evil covenant. Witches often bind people through spiritual contracts, blood, words, and rituals. But when salt water is activated, it breaks those invisible contracts. Whatever was signed against your health, your finances, or your destiny is suddenly nullified. The enemies who thought they had tied you down wake up with their own rope, strangling them. That is the power of salt in spiritual back to sender rituals. Salt water is also a barrier. Just as people in ancient times would use salt to keep away pests, spiritually, it keeps away monitoring spirits. Those evil eyes that watch you at night, those shadowy figures that walk in your dreams, those whispers of fear that come as you sleep, they cannot cross a barrier of salt water infused with 9 cloves. They will try to enter, but the barrier will bounce them back violently, leaving your enemies crushed by the weight of their own monitoring spirits. When salt water meets witchcraft, there is always chaos in the enemy's camp. Their charms lose power, their candles burn out, their spells scatter, and their demons flee. That is why your enemies dread the thought of you rising up in this knowledge. They want you to see salt and cloves as ordinary. But when you finally use them in this way, the effect is devastating. They will feel weak, sick, and drained, while you feel strong, free, and restored. Tonight, when you prepare that salt water and drop in the 9 cloves, you are not just placing a bowl by your bed. You are declaring war. You are building a wall. You are raising a weapon that fights while you sleep. And the sweetest part is this: you will rest, but your enemies will not you. You will dream in peace, but they will wake up in pain. You will rise renewed, but they will rise miserable, regretting why they ever touched you. First, you must prepare your mind. Do not do this ritual casually as though you are boiling water for tea. Approach it with seriousness, because the moment you take up these cloves and salt, you are holding a spiritual weapon. Before you begin, breathe deeply and decide within your heart that this night will mark the end of hidden battles in your life. This inner agreement gives your actions power, because in spiritual warfare, intention is everything. Now take a clean glass bowl or cup. It must be something you respect and set aside for this work. Do not mix it later with careless uses. Fill it halfway with clean water, preferably drawn fresh the same evening. As the water settles, see it in your spirit as life, ready to absorb purity and destroy corruption. Water has ears, and it responds to what you put into it. Tonight it will obey your command. Measure 9 cloves, no more, no less. As you hold them in your hand, declare aloud: each clove is a weapon. Each clove is judgment. Each clove is fire back to the sender. Drop them one by one into the water, and with each drop, see a chain of your enemy breaking, a curse being reversed, and a witchcraft altar collapsing. Do not rush this. Let each clove strike the water with meaning. Next, add salt. A handful is enough, but make sure it dissolves fully. As the grains fall, say with faith, salt of covenant, salt of protection, salt of warfare. Walk for me tonight. Watch the salt disappear into the water, because that is exactly how your enemy's powers will dissolve before your eyes. They will vanish into nothingness while your life shines bright. Once the cloves and salt are in the water, stir it gently with your right hand. Do not stir absent-mindedly. Stir with declaration. Say, every curse sent against me, return to sender. Every monitoring spirit, return to sender. Every poverty and sickness, back to sender. Tonight, I reverse every arrow in the name of against power. As you stare, feel the energy shift around you, because the mixture is no longer ordinary. It is activated. Place the bowl beside your bed where you can see it before closing your eyes. The closer it is, the more it guards your sleep. Some prefer to put it under the bed, but as long as it is near, the power radiates. As you lie down, do not fear who is planning against you. Smile, because you know your soldiers are awake. You know that the enemy's plotting will find themselves trapped in the very snares they designed for you. Before you drift into sleep, whisper a final declaration. Say, as I rest, let my enemies be restless. As I dream in peace, let my enemies dream in torment. As I wake in joy, let my enemies wake in misery. These 9 cloves, this salt water, they fight for me tonight. With that, close your eyes in confidence. This night, no shadow will touch you. No curse will land on you. No witch will find a way into your spirit. And when you wake up in the morning, pour the water outside your house or into the sink, speaking these words: return to sender, and let it never come back. As the water leaves your home, so do the curses, the evil eyes, the witchcraft, arrows, and the demonic projections. What was meant for you has gone back multiplied, and your enemies will spend their day wondering why their own lives are suddenly collapsing. That is the beauty of this ritual. It ends with you free and them miserable. When you rise in the morning after this ritual, know that your night was peaceful, because the battle was not yours to fight. The 9 cloves and salt water fought on your behalf, sending back every curse And while you slept in calm, your enemies were not resting. They were tossing in bed, suffocating under the weight of their own evil. The arrows they sent came back to choke, and the witchcraft they raised returned to poison their own spirit. Do not be surprised if in the days that followed, those who secretly hated you suddenly begin to avoid your presence. Some will not even greet you anymore. Others will complain of mysterious sickness, sleepless nights, or financial loss. This is not coincidence. This is the back to sender effect. They tasted their own poison, and what was meant for your downfall became their misery. Some enemies will even confess. They may not tell you everything, but you will notice strange apologies, sudden changes in tone, or fearful looks in their eye. It is because the ritual has exposed them spiritually. They see fire when they look at you. They see shame when they plan against you. And they feel torment when they think of your name. What was hidden in the dark has been revealed in the light. Those who try to send poverty into your life will wake up with doors of finances shut in their own lives. Contracts will slip from their hands, jobs will reject them, and opportunities will dry up. They will wonder what went wrong, not knowing that the salt water they mocked has sealed their destiny of lack as they become miserable. You will walk in new opportunity and financial favor. The witches who projected sickness into your body will suddenly find themselves weak. Their health will fail. Their bodies will ache, and their plans to attack you again will scatter. This is how the power of cloves and salt water operates. It never allows the enemy to enjoy their own wickedness. They feel the sting of every arrow they released, and their camp becomes a place of sorrow. The gossipers, slanderers, and those who use their tongues to curse you will feel their own words. Boomerang. They will wake up surrounded by confusion, their names dragged in the mud, their reputations damaged. They try to bury you with words, but now they are buried under the weight of their own lies. And as they sit in their misery, you will rise with honor, respect, and peace. And perhaps the most satisfying part is the monitoring spirits that once chased you in dreams, the shadows that stood at your door, the strange nightmares that troubled your night. They will not only vanish, but they will return to torment the very ones who sent them. Your enemies will wake up chased by the demons they once commanded, and their sleep will become restless until they abandon your case forever. This is why this ritual is not just about protection. It is about judgment, exposure, and making sure your enemies taste the misery they plan for you. The truth is, you were never meant to live in a fear of the enemy. You were never meant to cry yourself to sleep, wondering who is planning against you. Life is spiritual, and God has placed tools in your hands so you do not remain a victim. Salt and cloves may look small, but when used with faith, they carry the authority of heaven to scatter every witchcraft power and silence every evil voice. Many of you have suffered for too long because you thought protection was only for a chosen few, or that you had to beg endlessly to be safe. But the moment you understand these mysteries, you realize you already carry the weapons. You realize you are not powerless. You realize that with one simple act before bed, you can declare your home off limits to darkness and your enemies powerless to touch you. Spiritual awakening begins when you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a warrior. Warriors do not sleep unprotected. Warriors do not cry helplessly while the enemy laughs. Warriors rise up, pick up their weapons, and fight back. And that is what you are doing when you put 9 cloves in salt water. You are saying, I refuse to be the prey. I choose to be the lion. Reflection will show you that the enemy never truly had power over you. They only thrived on your ignorance. They attacked because you did not know how to respond. But now you know. Now you have light. Now you understand that every arrow can return. Every curse can be broken. Every plan can be reversed. Knowledge is power. And tonight you are equipped to win. Do not let anyone mock these mysteries. The same people who laugh at your use of salt and cloves are the same ones secretly using candles, powders, and sacrifices in the dead of night, which is not the power of small things. That is why they use them against you. But when you rise up and use these natural elements with divine authority, you will discover that what they meant for evil becomes your shield of victory. Think about, why do enemies spend so much effort trying to block your progress if you were not destined for greatness? They attack because they see your light. They attack because they sense your rising. But once you awaken spiritually, you will no longer waste your nights in fear. Instead, you will rest knowing that your greatness is untouchable, your destiny is unstoppable, and your enemies are miserable. Tonight is your awakening. Tonight is your turning point. Do not just watch this teaching as another message. Put it into action. Place the cloves, add the salt, stir with faith, and sleep with boldness. And as you reflect on your journey, remember this: you are chosen, you are covered, and you are untouchable. From this day, your life will never be the same, and your enemies will never rise again with joy. Now that you know the mystery of 9 cloves in salt water, it is time to activate it with fire-filled declarations. Remember, this is not a passive practice. It is spiritual warfare. Lift your voice tonight and say, every curse sent against me, return to sender. Every evil projection against my family, return to sender. Every poverty arrow, every sickness arrow, every witchcraft arrow, back to the sender. Speak it boldly, because your words seal the power of the ritual. Declare also against the enemies. Sleep. Say, as I rest, let my enemies be restless. As I close my eyes in peace, let their eyes be filled with torment. As I breathe calmly, let them choke on their own wickedness. As I wake up renewed, let them wake up miserable, in pain and in shame. These are not empty words. They are commands that the spiritual realm obeys, and your enemies will taste their own poison. This is your final activation. Take the bowl of salt water with 9 cloves, set it by your bed, and surrender the night to divine warfare. As you do, know that angels are on guard. The spices are fighting for you. The salt is burning evil covenants, and the water is carrying every curse back to sender. Sleep and let your enemies battle their own arrows until they collapse in confusion. Tomorrow morning, when you pour out the water, pour it with authority. Say, this is the end of curses in my life. This is the beginning of victory. Let every wicked plan return to sender and never return to me. As the water leaves your house, it carries away the misery meant for you, and it deposits it back into the camp of your enemy. They will not understand why their lives are suddenly collapsing, but you will know the ritual worked. To everyone hearing this message, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with your loved ones, your friends, and your community. Someone out there is being tormented nightly. Someone is being attacked by witchcraft. Someone is crying silently in pain, and this simple ritual can change everything. By sharing, you are helping them find peace and sending more arrows back to the senders of evil. And finally, do not forget to stand with this family of faith by watching, praying, and subscribing. Every time you return here, you receive more solutions, more weapons, and more victory. Comment below your testimonies, because they will inspire others. Hit the share button because someone needs this deliverance tonight. And never go to bed unprotected again. With 9 cloves in salt water, you will sleep in peace and your enemies will wake up miserable. This is Joshua. Salman wisdom, where hidden truths are revealed, where battles are fought and won in the spirit, and where every weapon formed against you is sent back to the sender. Stand firm, stay awakened, and never forget that your victory is already seen. Continue to walk in this newfound knowledge and authority. Do not let a single night pass from this moment where you leave your spiritual gate unguarded. The power to transform your night from a season of battle into a sanctuary of rest has been placed into your hands. This is your divine right and your spiritual inheritance. From tonight forward, let your home become a fortress that no darkness can penetrate. Let your sleep become a time of divine recharge and restoration, knowing that as you rest, heaven itself is fighting your battles. The same forces that once seemed to overwhelm you will now become the very instruments of your enemy's downfall. Every curse they utter will become a blessing upon your life. Every arrow they fire will return to them as a testimony of your protection. The poverty they projected will transform into abundance at your doorstep. While lack consumes their own households, the sickness they visualize for you will become your divine health, while weakness overtakes their own bodies. This is the great reversal that occurs when you step into your authority and use the weapons God has given you. Remember, this is not a one-time event, but a lifestyle of spiritual vigilance. Just as you would not leave the door of your house unlocked at night, do not leave your spiritual life unprotected. Make this ritual a sacred part of your evening routine, a holy habit that signals to the spiritual realm that you are no longer prey but predator in the realm of the spirit. Your consistent practice builds spiritual momentum that becomes increasingly difficult for the enemy to challenge. With each night that you place those 9 cloves in salt water, you are building a wall of fire around your life that grows higher and stronger. You are establishing a testimony in the spirit that you are under divine protection, and that touching you means invoking divine retaliation. Do not be discouraged if you do not see immediate manifestations in the physical realm. The spiritual realm always moves first, and the physical will inevitably follow. Trust that from the very first night you implement this practice, angels have been dispatched, curses have been reversed, and enemy camps have been thrown into confusion. The spiritual earthquake that occurs when you take this authority may take days, weeks, or even months to fully manifest in the natural realm, but it is working. From the moment you act in faith, you may notice small changes at first: a more peaceful sleep, dreams that are uplifting rather than troubling, a general sense of well-being upon waking. These are confirmations that the spiritual atmosphere around you is shifting. The greater manifestations, enemies being exposed, financial breakthroughs, healed relationships, and supernatural opportunities will follow in due season. Share this powerful truth with those you care about. There are people in your life who are suffering in silence, unaware that there is a spiritual solution to their nightly damn struggles. By sharing this knowledge, you become a conduit of deliverance in their lives. You become an instrument of peace in households tormented by spiritual attacks. Do not withhold this powerful weapon from those who need it most. As you share, you also strengthen your own spiritual authority. For when you teach others to walk in victory, you cement that victory more firmly in your own life. Remember that your enemies in the spiritual realm are not flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. Do not waste your energy hating people who may be used as instruments of darkness. Instead, focus on dismantling the spiritual forces that operate through them. The beautiful mystery of this practice is that it targets the spiritual source rather than the human vessel. Those who have been used to attack you may find themselves freed from the very influences that control them when the spiritual backing of their attacks collapses. Some may even become your greatest allies once the spiritual blinders are removed from their eyes. As you move forward in this journey of spiritual warfare, continue to grow in your understanding of the weapons God has made available to you. The cloves and salt are just the beginning of the spiritual arsenal at your disposal. God has placed countless natural elements throughout creation that carry spiritual authority when activated by faith and wisdom. Your spiritual growth will come through both practice and study, through both implementation and revelation. Stay hungry for deeper understanding and remain open to new strategies that heaven may reveal to you for different seasons and different battles. Your testimony has the power to break the chains of others. When you experience the victory this practice brings, do not keep it to yourself. Share what God has done in your life. Your story of peaceful nights and defeated enemies will give hope to those still trapped in cycles of spiritual attack. Your testimony becomes a weapon that dismantles the lies of the enemy in the lives of others. It declares that what God has done for you, He can do for anyone who walks in obedience and faith. Finally, remember that this spiritual practice, like all others,